Let me ask you just one question. Have you ever tried to learn Spanish on your own before? Perhaps by working with apps on your phone or by downloading grammar books and trying to do exercises and you just can't speak Spanish like a native speaker does? Well, let me tell you, you're not alone. This is actually, as a Spanish teacher, one of the first things that students come to me about. They will tell me that they have been trying to learn Spanish for quite a lot of time and they have been trying on their own with apps, exercises, and they still can't speak Spanish. And invariably, it's usually because of two reasons. And today I'm going to tell you all about it. Okay guys, I'm going to tell you these two reasons, which usually are the top two reasons why students, despite trying, even maybe after years of trying to learn Spanish, the top two reasons why students are unable to actually speak Spanish fluently. In my experience as a teacher of over 5 years and having taught hundreds of students all over the world, the number one reason why people are unable to speak Spanish fluently, or any other language for that matter, is because they try to translate. So, mistake number one, please stop trying to translate things from English in your head to Spanish. You need to realize that oftentimes a lot of concepts or a lot of ways of saying things do not translate literally from English to Spanish or vice versa. A very common example. So in Spanish we say ¿Cuántos años tienes? Which literally would mean in English, how many years do you have? Of course that's not right in English. In English you guys would say, how old are you? But in Spanish we have a different way of asking about the same concept. So one of the top reasons why students keep making mistakes and are unable to speak Spanish fluently, or other languages for that matter, as I was saying, is because they try to translate literally everything in their head. You need to stop doing that, and you need to start learning the concepts in the target language. You just have to stop thinking about your native language and your native tongue. It's very important not to mix Spanish with English and try to learn the concepts completely from a fresh viewpoint instead of trying to actually translate literally from English to Spanish. Mistake number one. Mistake number two. The second most common mistake that people do when trying to learn Spanish is not speaking enough. One thing is to work on the grammar. One thing is to work with apps on your phone. One thing is to work with the structure of language, maybe even listening to it. And another completely different thing is to speak it. Oftentimes I have students that come to me telling me that they've worked so hard and they still can't speak Spanish fluently. Whenever they try to have conversations, they forget about the conjugations, they forget about certain words, and they are just unable to speak. And the reason why that happens is because they don't speak enough. And I always tell my students to think about this. Imagine that you're a football player and that you spend hours and hours and hours on the pitch, maybe trying to practice kicking a ball and scoring a goal. That's one thing, right? But another thing is to actually play football, to actually play in a match and actually get that real life experience, which is actually going to allow you to improve. So I'm not saying that kicking the ball isn't effective, just like I'm not saying that studying grammar or working with actually trying to understand the language or the structure isn't effective. Of course it's effective, but you will come to a point where you need to start speaking to actually be able to start using the language and communicating effectively. That's one of the top mistakes that people make when trying to learn a language, not just Spanish, but any language. But most importantly, how can you start today, this very day, fixing those problems? Well, first of all, speak Spanish, guys. Start having conversations in Spanish. So if you have friends near you, family, anybody who speaks Spanish, take advantage of that. Start speaking with them in Spanish, start having conversations. Doesn't matter if you make mistakes, doesn't matter if you're slow, go for it and start speaking. That's actually going to start getting you more fluent the more you do it. If you don't have anybody near you, try language exchange apps. Maybe try having conversational classes online. Start speaking Spanish. I cannot stress that enough. That's the number one thing you have to start doing today. If you're not doing it right now, just start speaking Spanish fluently. Now, the number two thing you can start doing is stop translating word for word. I'm not saying that translating is not useful. Of course it's useful. It's one of the top things I do with beginner students, just to start to get them to understand the structure of Spanish, how words work, how the verbs and nouns work. It's useful. But when you're in conversation, you need to stop thinking about English. You need to stop thinking in your head about what you're trying to say in English and trying to translate that to Spanish. That's not effective. You have to think in Spanish and think about what you're trying to say in Spanish. So whenever you're trying to speak, whenever you're trying to write or communicate in Spanish in any manner, stop thinking in English first. That's not effective. You need to start changing your mindset and actually start thinking in Spanish first instead of just translating everything. That's the number two thing. The number two most important thing you can start doing today to start improving your Spanish learning and speaking like a native speaker does. And number three, in case you haven't, take a look at the rest of my videos. I have a lot of resources on my channel to help you out with listening, with grammar, with structure of language, with culture, with actually listening to conversations and real life usage of Spanish. Start watching material and maybe take a look at the rest of my channel, guys. That's something that you can start doing today as well to start improving your Spanish. Also, if you guys have any questions, maybe if you have any more doubts, or if you guys just don't know how to implement these steps into your Spanish learning, feel completely free to let me know. I'll be more than glad to help you out with questions, doubts, maybe if you need any extra suggestions, let me know in the comment section below. I will be more than glad to help you guys with any questions or doubts. Thank you so much for tuning in to another lesson of studying Spanish. See you in another class. Muchas gracias.